Hey, it's Michael here from EduKits. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the different display functions and blocks that you can use in CodeKit. In CodeKit, we have a bunch of different displays you can choose from, and you can find these under the Displays option in the sidebar. We have a liquid crystal display, we have an 8x8 matrix, an RGB TFT, and an OLED display. The graphics blocks I'm going to be showing you work for the matrix, the TFT, and the OLED display. And once you click to add that, you'll notice that these blocks show up in the sidebar. You can drag and drop these blocks onto the workspace, and you'll see that the code automatically generates in the section to the right. Once you're done, you can copy the code to your clipboard, or if you have CodeKit Pro on the web or our desktop app for Mac and Windows, you can upload directly. So let's jump into some of the graphics blocks, because once you have your display set up, there's heaps of different ways you can draw to the display, set pixel colors, and so on, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So let's start by taking a look at the basic display blocks within CodeKit. Firstly, we have the clear display block, which lets you wipe everything from the display and basically just displays blank pixels, no light, which means the color black. Next is a similar block. This is a block that lets you set all the pixels of the display to a single color. That can be black, but you can also use the drop-down color picker to select any color. Now, there are a bunch of displays that we have which only have a single color, and in that case, there's just a drop-down for high or low to let you set all the pixels to on or off. And finally, we have this display rotation block, which lets you rotate all the graphics I'm going to show you how to draw by a certain amount. We've got 0, 90, 180, and 270 degrees. And just an important note, on some smaller displays, you must add a display buffer block. This needs to come before any of the graphics blocks. So you can draw a bunch of stuff, and then to send it to the display, you need to add this display buffer block. On all the other displays, you can just draw stuff and it will appear immediately on the screen. There's a good reason for this. This is not just arbitrary. We won't get into that in this video, but this is just an important thing to remember. So if you're drawing a bunch of lines and rectangles and they're not showing up on the screen and you have one of these displays, this is likely the block you've forgotten to add. So on all of the displays, the pixels are displayed in a grid. And for us to be able to draw things, it's important to be able to locate positions on this grid. So we can add an x-axis going from left to right along the horizontal direction and a y-axis going from top to bottom. I think it's useful to think about the specific positions. In the x direction, positive x is to the right, and in the y direction, positive y is going down. So you can see that our top pixel, which is at the position 0x and 0y, is at the top left, and a position of like 9, 9 that goes at the bottom right. And it's important to note that when we're counting these, the first pixel is 0, not 1. And that's a common pattern in computer programming and computer languages, starting counting from 0. Now let's move this over and take a look at how to set a specific pixel. So in this block, we're setting the pixel at the location of x equals 2 and the y location of y equals 1 to purple. And we're going to illustrate that with actually the color white here, to see that a little bit easier. You can see that here is the pixel at position 2 for the x and position 1 for the y. With this, you can just draw a single pixel, and things are going to get a little bit more exciting from here, where we can draw some different shapes. Next, we're moving on to the line. For the line function, you specify a starting point and an ending point. In this example, we are starting at the origin, which is the point at x equals 0 and y equals 0, and we're going to move a little bit down and to the right. Here we have the origin, and here we have the x equals 7 and y equals 3 point. What this block is going to do is draw a line that connects these 2 points, and you can see that right here. It's a little bit pixely, but on a larger display, you'll notice that this looks a lot better and a lot smoother. Next, we're going to be drawing a rectangle. The way this block works is you specify a point that the rectangle starts at, and then you specify a width and a height. Now that point is always the top left corner of the rectangle. And you can see that here. We've got that top left point at x equals 1 and y equals 2. Then to specify the width, that width is going to go to the right and the height is going to go down. So width means that we're going to have a rectangle that's 6 pixels horizontally and 4 pixels vertically with that height of 4. And that's our rectangle. Now, you can use that drop down to actually select a fill option, which gives you the exact same rectangle with the exact same dimensions, except this time all of the pixels are filled in with the color that you selected. Next, we're going to move on to a circle, which works a little bit differently. With this block, you select the center, which unless you've selected fill is not actually going to appear. And then you select a radius to basically say the dimensions of the circle. So let's start with the center. We've got that at 0.55. And then for the radius, you can see that we don't actually draw that center point, but we instead measure out from it 3 pixels. And that means it's 3 pixels from all of the points that are being drawn to the center. Then, like with the rectangle, you can use the drop down there that says draw. You can just select fill, and all of the pixels inside that circle are going to be filled. Now let's move on to our final block here, which is the triangle block. With this block, you specify 3 different points and it will draw a triangle that's formed by those points. In this case, we have our first point at the origin, 0, 0. We have our next point at x equals 7 and y equals 1. And then we have our third point at x equals 2 and y equals 8. So this triangle block is going to draw the triangle formed by those points, and you can use that drop down to select fill, and you'll get a filled triangle. So now you understand the basics of all the graphics blocks for displays in CodeKit. So once you've set up your display, you can just go under the displays category in the toolbox, scroll down to the display graphics section, and you can do things like drawing lines, you can draw rectangles, you can do all the things we talked about earlier. You can set the color of the pixels, and then once you're done, like I mentioned earlier, you can just copy that code to your clipboard, or if you have CodeKit Pro, you can just upload directly to your connected board. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you're looking for more like it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.